Michael Aron, and your question for Dr. Sabrin.
Mr. Sabrin, Mr. Zimmer just brought up Iran. Do you agree with Barack Obama that the president should be willing to sit down with the leader of a potentially hostile power like Iran?
I'm old enough to remember, Michael, the staunch anti-communist President Richard Nixon, went to Beijing and toasted with the butchers of Beijing, gentlemen who killed 40 million plus of their own people. He negotiated with China. He negotiated with the Soviet Union. Ronald Reagan negotiated with Gorbachev. There's nothing wrong with negotiations. Death and destruction are worse than negotiations. We need to negotiate with people around the world so we have a peaceful world, we have a prosperous world, and we can do these cultural changes all over the world. That's the type of vision I will bring to Washington, D.C. We've had enough war and death and destruction for the past 100 years. 200 million people have died. Countless victims of war, countless destruction of private property and enterprise. I will be a leader for free enterprise, peace, trade, and all the things that Western civilization has created. There's no reason that we should not negotiate with anybody in the world. How else do you reach a conclusion if you don't negotiate?
Your 30-second response, Senator.
Negotiations is a two-way street. Do we negotiate with despots and people that harm their own people, like in Cuba, who was willing to go to Cuba? Or do we put pressure on them diplomatically and say, listen, until you observe human rights, until you start being fairer and more equitable to your own people, then you can start joining the community of people within our called nations. Otherwise, we have to put that pressure diplomatically. That's not to say that we can't talk to people, but certainly we shouldn't do an Obama where the Obama's already committing himself to meeting with a despot.
Congressman Zimmer.
Well, this country should, and it does, have contacts at low level and indirectly with virtually every government in the world. What Obama has proposed that I think is a bad idea is to have a summit conference between the American president and, say, the president of Iran with no preconditions. That's a propaganda coup for the leader of that country, who is very hostile to us, who is making weapons that are killing our military men, and who has sought the destruction of Israel.
Mr. Sabrin, your rebuttal, please.
After I win this primary, I will go to Cuba. I will go to Cuba and open up a dialogue with the Castros. And I will tell them there are three evils in this world. Socialism, which they've overseen for more than 50 years. Trade sanctions, which harm innocent people. And abortion, which destroys innocent human life. That's the type of policies I will bring to Washington, D.C. Governments should not harm innocent people. Governments around the world are harming their own people and their neighbors. That has to stop. We have to negotiate peaceful relations around the world.
Michael, you'd like another question?
If you agree with Obama on negotiating with Ahmadinejad, and if you win the nomination, can you campaign with Senator McCain in the fall on such a high-profile issue as this?
I said when I came into this race, I will support the Republican nominee. That doesn't mean I'm going to be robo-senator. I'm not going to join lockstep with the President of the United States, whether it's a Republican or Democrat, on any issue. I, like John McCain, will put country above party. And my oath of office is to the Constitution of the United States. My oath is to make sure that our borders are secure, our economy is free, our civil liberties are protected. That's what I bring to Washington, D.C. as the next senator from the state of New Jersey.